Hi, welcome into twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uppers. My name is Graham Day, and I am joined by the man that we call Mr. Bibb, who is wearing his ICU esports jersey, just like I am.
OG one, this Graham. This is OG. This isn't the new one.
I see it. Absolute first run. I mean, it doesn't have Astro on it, so you know, it swings and roundabouts. But it's nice that we've got the memories there. Yeah, man.
It's much bigger now than it once was. Despite Connor ordering it 2 sizes too big initially. It's been through the mill. It's started to pull in the front as well a little bit, but I have worn it to death.
That just shows that you're a man that represents. That's what it shows. That shows pride and power. And a badass motherfucker that won't take no crap. Okay, cool runnings. Nice. Welcome into twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uppers. My name is Graham Day, and I'm joined by the man that we call Mr. Bibb. All right, Bibb. We are here to stay comfy. If you watched the pre-show, it makes sense. If you didn't, it doesn't. It's fine. Let's go with it. Now, we are here to give you our thoughts and impressions of the biggest, the best, the breaking stories in the world of video games. And as well as our thoughts and impressions, we want to hear your thoughts and impressions. And then your thoughts and impressions on our thoughts and impressions. So if you are in the stream, please do feel free to get involved. And I mentioned stream because we are live on twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uppers, where we go live each and every single weekday at 10 a.m. Ish. Nice. So it's not 10 a.m. It's as JMK says, 15:40 and 5 seconds, which is basically 10 a.m. ish. We're only going to be live for the next 20 minutes ish, so we're going to have to pick up the pace and fly through the news. Theodore Norton has just subscribed for 29 months saying ETH out. I was chatting with Wobbles this morning, who was like, what is it with all the United fans wanting Eric Ten Hag out? I was like, that's not all the United fans. That's all the other fans and the fan accounts. That's like listening, if you're listening to that, it's like listening to Arsenal fan TV and taking their word as gospel. They're not fans, it's just the internet whoppers. Anyway, but we'll leave that alone. 12. Oh, fuck, I take a high up. Do you know, I've called Tito a lot of things, but I've never called him 12-head before. I just called him
Are you going to apologise?
I apologise.
There's no point apologising. How do you apologise for that? Speaking of which,
Very fair.
Speaking of which, I had to clip 12 stream this morning because he was finishing up his stream. I mean, not only did he throw out an insult, but he actually threw out an insult and then hit raid before he'd said it. So he said, goodbye, bye, I'm going to leave now, goodbye everyone, have a great day, except, and then he went off, and I thought, guaranteed that is Ice Cream Uploads. So I had to go back a screen just to see his stream to then be able to clip him going, except I see you. It's like, if you're going to throw shade, at least let people be there to see it. Fuck's sake.
Well, we could have taken that bit and then added everybody's name to the end of it. So it could have been anyone. Everyone except Wobbles, except Big Hamish, except Nichio.
You'd have to do it in like 12 voice, so it'd be like, except, because that's what 12 sounds like, except. So yes. Anyway, no, we are here to talk video games, so I'm going to jump into the split screen.
We amuse ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, we have a few stories for you today. The first one that we're going to jump into is one that Gaming Nacho has been asking us to touch on, and that is the fact that Unity is making some big ass changes to its whole payment system. If you don't know what Unity is an engine that developers use to make video games. So there's Unreal Engine made by Epic, and Unity developed the Unity engine for developers to make games. Great, nice. Quite a lot of respect in the world for Unity. Until recently, they keep kind of dropping the ball a little bit, which is bizarre, but this one is the biggest one, and there was a few different stories and conversations coming out around it over the last week, and we were going to look at it, and we were just kind of watching the conversation go by. There was a lot of news last week anyway, and we didn't have much time, so we just thought, okay, we'll deprioritize it until it looks like it's kind of getting somewhere, which is where we are now. As Unity says, it will be making changes to its controversial install fee plans, so we'll go over what those install fees are and that stuff in this article. We'll then talk about Cyberpunk 2077's next update, which is 2.0, which is supposedly good. I don't know. We'll look into that. And then this is where it gets patchy. If we've got time, we'll talk about Xbox Game Studios working on a dozen games with external partners, and Payday 3 removing de novo DRM after a big fan backlash. So big stories across the entire spectrum, very different from one another, but kicking things off. Mr. Bibb, have you been watching the Unity stuff?
I have been watching it, not too closely, but I understand that there has been absolute turmoil over in the video gaming world because of it.
Well, speaking of turmoil, Tito says, wow, Tory I can take, but 12? Sheesh. And from one turmoil back to another. This is written by Chris Scullion at VGC. It says, Unity says it will be making changes to its controversial install fee plans. Quotes, this is a tagline, we have heard you, the company says, amid huge developer backlash. So Unity says it will be making changes to its controversial install fee plans following a huge backlash from game developers. Last week, the software development company announced plans to charge developers every time a game that uses its Unity engine is installed. Starting in January 2024, the proposed Unity runtime fee would apply to games that meet a minimum revenue threshold and have passed a minimum lifetime install count. Following practically unanimous outcry from the developer community, the company has now released a statement saying it would be making changes to its plans. Quote, we have heard you, the statement reads. We apologise for the confusion and angst the runtime fee policy we announced on Tuesday caused. We are listening, talking to our team members, community, customers and partners, and will be making changes to the policy. We will share an update in a couple of days. Thank you for your honest and critical feedback, end quote. Reaction to the statement has been mixed, with some developers wary that Unity refers to, quote, making changes to the policy, rather than outright saying it will scrap the Unity runtime fee in its entirety. Vlambeer co-founder Rami Ismail said, quote, it's terrifying to think Unity leadership dragged this over the weekend, leaving every studio out there with genuine existential concerns, and even now cannot simply go, our intent is to drop the per install fee. We have to be worried longer, and we have to keep talking about this, end quote. Slime Rancher series director Nick Popovich added, quote, there was zero confusion, just anger and a total loss of trust that you would change existing contracts because you feel like it. This policy, modified in a couple of days or not, retains the above. End quote. A number of other developers objected to the use of the word confusion in the statement, as they felt Unity was implying that the issue was partly down to developers not understanding its plans. Quote, I really like it if they stop telling us we're confused, said Bithell Games founder Mike Bithell. If anything, the issue is over an abundance of clarity. Last week, Unity had closed its Austin and San Francisco offices. Nice. And cancel a planned town hall meeting following what was reportedly a credible death threat. Do you know, we're not going to touch on the death threat stuff because I didn't know about that, but that stuff can get in the fucking bin. I mean, yes, the plans might be not confusing and disastrous entirely, but death threats can get to fuck. There's never any need for that. So now we've established that, we'll put that bit to bed. But Unity is making controversial install fee plans. For those that don't know what that is, it kind of mentioned the icon then, but I'll go over it again. Unity is an engine. If you want to develop games, you can choose what engine you want to develop them on. You can do that in games like Dreams and Roblox and things like that, or you can use engines like Unity or Unreal or whatever to make your own video games. Unity has been well used and well respected for a long period of time. Things like Epic have come along and started like ripping up the script when it comes to revenue shares and so on. And a lot more people naturally are gravitating over towards Epic and Unreal 5. So Unity's had to make some changes and had to do some things. And it hasn't necessarily chosen the best decisions over the last few months. I'm trying to remember what the articles were that they were featured in, but actually I'll leave them up to the side. The one that we are talking about right now, though, is the fact that Unity plan to have an install fee. So if you're a developer and you've made a game on Unity, there is ways that you pay that back. You either pay a subscription to Unity, which covers your fees for that. You can have it so that you can pay money back dependent on games once you've hit certain thresholds and so on. And Unity decided that they were going to add an install fee. So every time someone downloads and installs your game, they are already downloading what did they call it? Unity Runtime. So you're already downloading that. So every time you download Unity Runtime to install the games, we'll charge you for Unity Runtime. But if you download the game and say it costs 20 cents to install Unity Runtime and then get rid of it, and download it and get rid of it, and download it and get rid of it, you do it 5 times, you've just cost that company $1. You and someone else do that same thing, that's $2. You and 100 people, that's $100 that company's down before you even play it. before you put any money into the game. The company's down $100. So there's a very real prospect that companies can get review bombed. We live in a world where that happens. You can get downvote bombed. We live in a world where that happens. So if people can have very realistic attempts at smashing the install button and install bombing businesses out of business, then it's very, very possible. So that is one thing. And then the other thing is just changing that, changing to that model is in itself just pretty disastrous. The fact that they've gone from, oh, by the way, we never had this before, but yeah, you will be being charged for this. And they tried to do it as like, yeah, this threshold's based on the number of games, the number of installs you've got or how much revenue you've got, but it's still something that they've just added on top that could take an unendless amount of revenue away from developers. Naturally, the development community were pissed, and that is where we find ourselves now, where Unity say that they're going to be making changes after the confusion based around this, but still haven't said that they will get rid of it entirely. What are your thoughts, Mr. Bibb?
Yeah, this reminds me of again, if you're of a certain age, this might be new news to you. But if you're not, if you're around my age, around 32, then you will have been through the phase that EA went through way back when if you was to go to game and you wanted to buy a used copy of a game that has a multiplayer aspect to it, you used to have to pay extra to be able to play on that. I think it was like £8. So if you bought a copy of FIFA for £20, you couldn't play that online unless you paid the £8 to have the online access, which was criminal back then, and it was very quickly eradicated. It maybe only went on for about 2, at max 2.5 years, but it was definitely something that had to get taken off of the table because it was just costing them stupid amounts of money. They thought that people would go, okay, I'm not going to pay the £28, I'm going to go buy the £40 version instead. Do you know what I mean? That was their understanding, but it was so anti-consumer, it's ridiculous. This is not exactly the same, but in terms of wanting to be able to play video games and you're paying for that, and then the people who've made the engine also have to pay for that, regardless of whether or not it's a licensing fee that they've had to buy initially to be able to create that game, and then I want to be able to play their game, they get charged again for it. Ridiculous, stupid, anti-consumer, not really anti-establishment, but
it's definitely anti-developer anyway. 100%.
Absolutely, because why would you want to use that engine? Like, you are literally killing your own engine. I mean, the games that came before it, that people that have made them in the past using that engine, obviously they're going to suffer as well, but you will just alienate yourself and people just won't end up using that engine. And the fact that they've brought their own messaging out and they never even went back on it and go, do you know what, we realise that we've dropped a massive bollock here and we're going to reverse all the stuff that we're going to go, actually no, we're going to take a step back. We understand that you're pissed, we're going to take a step back, we're going to leave all of this on the table for the time being.
We're not sorry that we've fucked up. We're sorry that you see it like we fucked up. We're sorry that you're mad at us, not for what we've done, not what we've done or said. That's where it stinks from. And David's mentioned something in the chat. The guy who's bringing this new stuff in is former EA, so no wonder he's pissed about with the prices. He's probably going to apply microtransactions somewhere down the line. There was a few things about, I don't know if it's the same guy. I don't know about the structure at Unity. There's the multiple facets, but basically, the guy that's in charge of Unity, once again, I'm quoting other sources without fully doing my research on this, so feel free to correct me. John Riccitiello, that's the name, Riccitiello. He was ex-EA. He was in charge of EA in the period where EA was at its most greedy. When EA was like this big company that just started scabbing shit out, probably doing the stuff that Bibby's just been talking about. That was John Riccitiello. That was his stuff. And now he's at Unity and they're doing similar sort of things. But then it gets even worse because there was a thing last week where I don't know what day it was announced. Let's say it was Tuesday last week where they announced these changes. On Monday, John Riccitiello sold 20,000 of his shares in Unity because he clearly knew it was shit and it was going to fucking drop the share value, so sold 20,000 of his shares. And I don't know the full context of that. Is 20,000 a lot? Is that just enough for him to buy a new lawnmower? Could be. Very possible that he could just be doing that on his own. But with everything that's come out there, it stinks. Unless someone can tell... I can't prove that it was insider trading, but I'll be happy for someone to prove to me that it wasn't, but it smells like that from where I'm sat. If you're selling 20,000 shares the day before you drop the fucking share price of the business, it sounds like you're getting your cash out before it loses its value to me. That's what it thinks like to me. I mean, you make your own mind up. I'm not saying that is the case, but it is what it is. John Riccatello, when at EA, made a remark about charging to reload a gun in game because when players get so far in a game, they'll be willing to pay rather than quit. So to me, that's an indication of what's to come. Yeah, that's disgusting. Disgusting. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a great mindset to have, in theory, as part of a holistic package. If you understand where you are more likely to get money out of people, that is great. But it's like the fucking Force or any fucking thing from the films. There is the dark arts that you don't need to speak about, that you don't need to lean into. You understand how it works, and you can take inspiration from the dark arts, but you deploy it in a way that's not going to turn you into an absolute shithouse company. And that's sadly where it is. I know people. I've got... people that I would class as good long-term friends that work at Unity. And it's a shame to see a company that, by proxy from them, I had a lot of respect for, just being dragged through the mud with this sort of stuff. Because it's not as if they need the bad press. I don't know much about development in terms of hands-on. I know a lot more than most people, but when it comes to developers, I am very fresh. I'm very green because I'm not in development. I'm in marketing of development and publishing of development. So I'm not a developer. But what I can tell you is that Unity is something that I know of, but a lot of people won't. Whereas Epic's Unreal Engine is something that I know of, but a lot more people will. And especially with things like the Matrix demo that's potentially... or not going to be working on the Switch soon, if you believe last week's stories and so on. That shown how good the Unreal Engine can be, and Fortnite showing how good it can be, and Lumen and the Land of Nanite, the demo that we got to see, Lumen and Nanite tech functions, and the lobby functions, and all this cool stuff that you can get as a developer for free until you've made $1 million, and then you start to pay some of it back. Whether Unity's worse or not is irrelevant, because in the mindshare, Unreal is good and Unity now looks bad. So you're kind of doing your own death knell. The Unreal doesn't need to do anything now. It's like, I mean, obviously there is more engines out there, but in terms of like big open market like sort of engines, these are the two that come to mind for me, at least anyway. So if Epic is your own competition, they don't even need to compete because you played yourself. You played yourself. That's not the voice I expected. You played yourself. We're still on the 12 voice. I prefer the first one. You played yourself, Phil. So yes, that is an article from Chris Scullion at VGC. Unity says it will be making changes to its controversial install plans. So the plans are controversial, but they're not getting rid of it. They're just changing it to get rid of your confusion, not their confusion. Because, yes. And now talk about Rockstar being super generous by giving 3 outfits for players in online for free in honouring GTA 10 years. I mean, 3 kids. Wow, man. I didn't see that. You're going to have to give me a link. I didn't see that one. Just a coincidence. Nothing to see here. Move along. We need change Graham's voice by using sprinkles.
No, you do not.
Do you know, I have thought about things like that. I can make it so that chat can control lighting and stuff like that in my room. But I like to have a hand on the stream. I like to allow people. I like to help allow people to get involved. But I'd hate to just be sat here like.
Hi, so welcome to another episode of The Scoop. For some reason, you're listening to this on demand because
the chat said so. So yeah.
People who are listening on demand, they'll just be like, "Have their earphones broke, or like have they just fallen into a pool or something?" I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, do you know what? We are rapidly out of time. We are out of time. So I'm gonna jump onto the next story quickly, only because we had it from last week, and if this today is anything to go by, the rest of the week will be busy. But this could be a chunky story for us to go through too. But Matt Wales at Eurogamer says Cyberpunk 2077's major 2.0 update arrives next week, 5 days before Phantom Liberty. So big times are coming for Cyberpunk 2077 with its paid expansion and a significant 2.0 base game overhaul, both right around the corner. We already knew the expansion Phantom Liberty was coming on 26th of September, but developer CD Projekt has now confirmed its free 2.0 update will arrive 5 days earlier on the 21st of September. You couldn't see Bibi was fist pumping there, by the way.
Absolutely.
Cyberpunk 2.0 aims to address some of the criticism levied at the game since its controversial launch at the tail end of 2020, promising completely redesigned skill trees and perks, revamped cyberware, a new capacity system, vehicle combat and car chases, combat AI improvements, and a new police system. It also brings changes to loot, items, and crafting, as well as UI and UX improvements, and a new selection of radio stations. In other words, Cyberpunk's 2.0 update touches on a broad range of core systems in a significant fashion, and CD Projekt has been attempting to explain how these changes will impact the experience across a recent series of developer streams. Its latest, which aired this evening, which was at the end of last week, by the way, took some time to highlight 2.0's revamped skill trees and perks, showcasing a number of builds: the slow-mo, air-dashing, bullet-time ninja, the quick hack queuing, overclocking hack and slash net runner, the close quarters, ground-pounding savage slugger solo, that will be possible come the update. And of course, Cyberpunk 2077's Phantom Liberty expansion, which adds the likes of a new storyline, a new district, new quests, new gigs, new boss fights, vehicle missions, an increased level cap to 60, and a new relic tree. Also got a look in, albeit this time in the form of a chat with Idris Elba, who plays a new character called Solomon Reed. Elba is also the focus of CD Projekt's new released cinematic Phantom Liberty trailer. Fuck me, there is a lot in this. Goddamn. Yeah. And that's pretty much all CD Projekt had to say for itself this time around, aside from some chatter about Cyberpunk 2077's music, which is now being officially released on streaming services. But the key points here: Phantom Liberty arrives on 26th of September. The big 2.0 update comes 5 days earlier, coming to Xbox Series X and PS5 and PC on the 21st of September. Sheesh! Is it time?
Yeah.
Is it time? Thoughts, Bib?
It is time. I feel like it is time. I did put a tweet out earlier last week regarding this when the news started to break that we was going to be getting the time and what the game is going to be like, when we're expected to be able to play it, etc., etc. And I genuinely, and I know I haven't played much of it yet, but this is the game that I was rooting for from the start in terms of what's going to be my game of the year kind of thing. Is it going to be Cyberpunk, or is it going to be Starfield? And this is the game that I'm looking forward to most in terms of Cyberpunk, because we were so hyped for this game and it flopped so hard. And we knew there was going to make changes because CD Projekt always do. We just didn't know at what level it was going to do it. And this, I hope to God that they end up having the redemption arc that No Man's Sky ended up getting. And I'm not saying that Starfield is obviously a bad game with that context. It's not a game that I'm not hyped for. I am super happy for Skyrim in space. Like, that Starfield will be the game that I will be playing in 6 years' time. I've got all the time in the world to be able to play that. It ain't a race to complete the game, in my opinion, when it comes to Bethesda games, because I play them so much. It'll be evolving game. It will keep on getting patched. It'll keep on getting worked on. But this is the redemption story that me and you have both been waiting for since, was it December 2020? Yeah, like we are coming up nearly 3 years since this game got released, and then all the hype leading up to it. So I think we've been invested in this ecosystem for about 5 years now, and this is the turning point, I feel like, and I hope, because the stuff that they have added now is the game that we should have got initially.
Yeah,
and that's what excites me the most. The amount of content that we're going to be getting out of this, the pretty much a brand new world, new skill trees, new characters, new weapons, the way that the police start to patrol the entire city. Like, all of this stuff is the stuff that we should have got originally, and this is why I've been rooting for it so hard, because I knew this point would come, versus at what cost, and how excited we was going to be to get to this point. So I am so looking forward to getting started with this.
I am a big fan of the fact that you're showing that excitement as well, because it's fashionable to hate it. It's like people grew to hate it, and we were open with our disdain, our dislike, the fact that they misled people. They were throttling PR avenues pre-launch so that they could try and like get more unjustified news articles out, aka they were trying to make it just be PC only, get rid of console stuff so that you only see it and you believe the hype and you buy it and then you realise it's shit. But by that point, you've got the money and hopefully they can keep you hooked in while they take it off you. It was shit. It was bad. But it definitely does deserve some praise and plaudits. And if you haven't been watching The Scoop for 3 years-ish, this is my famous, or infamous as it is here, copy of Cyberpunk that was bought for me by Danielle as a birthday present. So I had it ready to go for when it was, yeah, I don't know, I think it was birthday. I'm going to say birthday. Anyway, I was supposed to be able to play this in December when it came out. So you can see it's still got the cellophane wrapper on it because the game was a shit show. And I was like, what's the point in that? I'll wait for the update. And when we got an update, the general consensus was, this is okay. This is good. Now it sounds like it's so much better. Let me just quickly jump over things. We are going to wrap things up after this article, but it's promising completely redesigned skill trees and perks, revamped cyberware, a new capacity system, vehicle combat and car chasers, combat AI improvements, and a new police system, as well as bringing changes to loot, items, crafting, UI and UX, and a bunch of new radio stations. That is a shitload of content. That is in the same week as the Phantom Libya expansion, which is obviously extra cost, bringing a new storyline, new district, new quests, new gigs, new boss fights, vehicle missions, an increased level cap to 60, a new relic skill tree, and, well, Idris Elba. That's a seller on its own right there. God damn, that's a beautiful man. But there is shitloads there. There is shitloads there. And we said years ago, CD Projekt will make it right. The Witcher was never the game that it was now from the start. It took them a few years to get it fixed. I didn't think it would take them 3 years. I thought the pressure was on. But whether it did or didn't take them 3 years, we're at that point where it could be something exceptional. And I'm very, very, very much happy to see this. And it gives me a reason to add yet another game onto my pile of shame, because this was on the pile of fuck that. Now it's on the pile of shame. So I will one day eventually, maybe potentially, probably not get around to playing this.
I think you'll play this before you play Starfield. I feel like there's going to be a point when I come back off holiday and I boot this up for the first time and I go, mate, this is it. This is the one that we wanted. Like, me trying to get you to play Skyrim will obviously fall short. Me trying to convince you to be able to play Starfield is definitely still on the table for you to be able to do it, because it's a space game with Bethesda mechanics. Fantastic. I mean, I wanted you to play Fallout, but there's obviously so many different iterations of that. This is a fresh IP, blah blah blah. But I feel like having Cyberpunk be what me and you have, that kind of, not synthwave, is that the kind of vibe that we go for? Like, yeah, that's kind of synthwave environment. You're probably going to have those kind of soundtracks in the game. You're going to have super cool holograms and fast cars, load of RGB lighting, all of that stuff that we like. I feel like you will definitely play this before you play Starfield, and I feel like this might be the gateway for you to enjoy RPG games in the future.
No, I want to play this. I want to play Starfield and beyond. And who knows, if PUBG keeps adding and removing taggies and things, maybe I'll give up on PUBG and free up all of my game time for everything ever. We'll see. One thing we will see, though, is the end of this stream, because we have to wrap things up. I've got to jump off to do some things. So, super condensed scoop. We do have two more articles, which we'll shovel onto tomorrow's show, which definitely, probably, hopefully, will have. Yeah, exactly. We're gonna get one. We're gonna scoop from the studio tomorrow, right, babe?
As far as I'm aware, yeah. I think after the mic checks and everything last week, we're all good.
So yeah, we'll talk about it then. Nice. 2077 was the beta's name. It's now called 2080. The only way Graham will ever play Starfield is if map number 10 in PUBG is called Starfield. Well, you do. I did install it, which is a big thing for me. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, we're gonna wrap things up. Just a quick recap then what we did cover. Unity is making changes to controversial free plans. It never made mistakes. You did. Stop being confused. And Cyberpunk's next update arrives this week. It says next week, but it's this week because that article is from last week, and it looks the tits, or it sounds the tits anyway. If anyone does play it, do please feel free to let us know what you think. We are looking forward to seeing some more Cyberpunk stuff. I mean, like I said, we were talking about it last week. At one point in time, this was called the Cyber Scoop because we spoke about Cyberpunk that often. So please do feel free to let us know your thoughts. For now, though, we are going to wrap things up. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Scoop, plus all of the content through the week. But before that happens, is there what you want to add, Mr. Bibb?
Yes, again, thank you very much to each and every one of you that have joined us for this super condensed version of the show today. To keep up with appearances, I will say you know exactly where to find us at Ice Cream Uploads across all major social media platforms. Go into the description. All the links that you request, all the links that you require will be listed there, but only from you as URL plus your thoughts and impressions. We will then give you our thoughts and opinions on at what time tomorrow, Mr. Graham Day.
Nobody knows. I mean, 10 a.m.
Ish.
10 a.m.-ish. Yeah, one or the other. Stick around, though. We're going to drop a raid on one of our friends. Have yourselves a beautiful day. And if you are listening to this stuff on demand, just let you know that we love you. Almost as much as the people turn up at Twitch. And if you want to write that wrong, then you can get it too. But until next time, stay frosty. Stay frosty. We love you all. Ish.